Because, in high school, you're kind of afraid that you feel like you have to be in this, like, a certain bubble.
Yeah,
be, like, accepted. But then when I was able to step out of that and, like, graduate and just to really, like, see the people that surround you and, like, people that are, like, you don't need to be anybody else besides yourself, then I think I was finally like, okay, so this is me. Like, I'm from Vietnam, but it's like I'm also, like, have this new culture that I'm embracing. So, like, it took me a little bit, but I think now I'm pretty comfortable in who I am and where I'm from. And I think it just took a lot of, like, growing up and just maturing to realize that it's okay for you to be, yourself.
Hey, let's get straight into it. So thank you, Mylin, for joining us here on the First Gems. As you know, or may not know, we're the First Gems. We are a podcast and a brand that aims to provide a safe space for first-gen millennials to kick it, unite, heal, connect, share stories, discover their experiences. So we're really trying to build something great here, and it starts with sharing people's stories. And one of the main reasons why I thought you would be a great guest is because you're not only a first gen, but you're also a young entrepreneur. And I think that is super interesting to discuss. And a lot of people are pretty curious about how to start their own business. Like, what's it like? What's the day-to-day? So we're definitely going to tap into your entrepreneurial story, but also your cultural story too, because that's how we do it here. Culture, community, the come up. So yeah.
Okay, so my name is Mylin, and I am 23, turning 24 this year. I'm actually not from here. I was born in Vietnam, and then I moved here in 4th grade. And I used to live in Minnesota for a little bit, and then now I'm obviously living in California. I actually started my business, which my brother is my partner, and I actually opened the store when I was 21, which it was pretty crazy because I think that whole year I was like, I feel like now I'm looking back into, like, that girl who was super scared, because how it happened was my brother had came up to me with, like, a plan and was like, hey, like, I think this would be a really good opportunity for you, and you can be my partner and you can learn and grow on how to create a business and how to run a business, but it's like, I was serving at that time and I was working 2 jobs. So it was really scary because it's a lot of responsibility being 21, just turning, like, at that age when you're trying to, like, party and, like, trying to, like, discover and, like, have fun at the same time. But then I just went through with it and I was like, okay, I prayed on it and God gave me kind of direction towards saying that this is his plan for me. So I took that and I ran with it. So now it's been almost 2 years since we opened the store. But yeah, it's been such a blessing in my life. So it's been really cool.
That's amazing.
That's super cool. Oh my God, I love the synopsis too, because I knew, like, the very first layer, but getting deep into, like, the why and the how is really, really, really cool. And I'm so proud of you. We're so proud of you for starting your own business and getting that going. And that's
at 21. Can we? 21? Like,
it was like a struggle at first, because it's like right when you turn 21, I was like wanted to party, but then like. Of course, it was my brother was my partner, so he was a little bit more hard. Like, hey, like, you need to focus. Like, you have to make sacrifices. So it was a rough patch of, like, trying to figure out, like, having a social life and also a business, which took me a second. I made a few mistakes, and then I came back to it, and now I think I'm able to balance it a little bit better with just both, because these 2 things are both important to me. Like, I always a big believer in not just, like, working hard, but also being able to enjoy myself too.
Definitely. Balance is key. And it's really great too how you were able to, I guess, really discipline yourself, because 21, like you said, like you just want to be out, like you're legal to go to the club, do all this, so you can easily get distracted. So I think that's why that's a huge like accomplishment to even start at 21, you know, in college. Yeah, that's like college age for me.
Because when I was opening the store too, that's when I was finishing my last because I have my bachelor in hospitality management. So at the same time I was going to college and then just going to the store when I got back. So that was kind of like, you know, I had the store. I wasn't busy yet at the time. So I was able to study while I was there and then got through my last semester of college. And then, yeah.
Wow. What's the age difference between you and your brother?
He's 32. But that's why I feel like I was really lucky to have him, because he has opened a boba store already in Laguna Hills. This is where like in my area. So he already had that, like the mistakes that he's already made and, you know, kind of like went through the process. So for me, it was a little bit easier than just like starting off completely on my own, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really unique too, because a lot of times you hear kind of parents opening the gateway for their children, but never like that sibling to sibling kind of relationship. So did your parents play a role into you all opening your business, or how did that work out?
Yes. So it's more of like a financial thing for them. They just helped us have like investment. So I actually have a check on my thing that I wrote out a check because, you know, how, not like, I don't know, like I just seen people do it. And I wrote out a check to give them like the investments that they've given me. And hopefully one day I'll be able to sign this check to give that back to them.
Wow.
But that's one of the things that we are very blessed to have parents that were able to, you know, believe in us and to be like, here, you guys go. But my brother, you know, obviously now they realized that it was a good investment because he's actually opening his third store in OC for his store. So
he's on it.
Yeah. So.
Really? Yeah. So why boba? Why your fluffy bear dessert? Like why that path? I wonder.
I guess like in my family, right? Like we don't have any doctors, anybody in the entertainment industry. We're kind of all like entrepreneurs, the restaurants and food and hotels, whatever that it may be. So most of us are more like, I don't know, we just like the grind of like business. So my brother, I think in Vietnam, the culture of, you know how we go to like bars and clubs and things like that on the weekends.
Yeah.
In Vietnam, it's more of like you meet at a boba shop and you sit there and you like drink your boba, and that's their Friday, Saturday night. Obviously there's clubs, but in like the culture, that's actually like a really fun like place where everybody gather and meet up. So like I wish we had something like that here. It's kind of like a coffee shop, but like it'll open to like 12 p.m., you know, and people will sit there like it's a bar. They'll sit there like that.
That is really interesting because in the past couple of years, like boba has really become popular. It kind of seemed like it just came out of nowhere and everybody was like, "Oh, you ain't got your boba." Like, don't talk to me. Like,
there was a boba shortage. Do you guys see that? It was real. People messaged me, was like, "Is there actually a boba shortage?" Because COVID happened, so they weren't able to and ship a lot of the boba products over here because it took a while for the ships to come, and it was a whole thing with like all of that. So there was actually a boba shortage, and like we never ran out of boba, but it was actually kind of hard to buy it at one point.
Whoa. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Like I do significantly remember when I was in college, that's when I first got introduced to boba. I was like, what is this? Like,
right.
And literally everyone would not stop talking about it. They're like, boba, we're going to get boba. There's this new boba place. And I was like, what is this? Like, so is boba culturally like originated in Vietnam or somewhere else? Do you know?
I don't know. Honestly, I've actually never, that's actually really interesting. I've never really looked up the history of it, but it was a part of our culture. So I'm guessing it originated somewhere in Asia for sure, but I could be wrong. But it was a huge like cultural thing that like, you know, that I think now, obviously we live in California and boba is getting introduced because you really see boba popping up to a lot of places now, but I'm not sure where that like started from.
That's really interesting. I want to go back to what you said about how like back home people would utilize like the boba spots as a hangout spots. And I mean, where I was hanging out, I don't know if you're familiar with Cerritos area or Norwalk. And there's, even growing up in high school, I have a lot of Asian American friends. So I was put onto boba from early. And it was the same situation. Like we would go there Thursdays and Fridays after school. Like it was packed and people bring their families. Like I think it's more than just the beverage too. It's like the experience. Did y'all see that? I think it was the TikTok of somebody trying boba for the first time.
Oh.
You know what he was doing? He was like, well, insert the clip here. He was trying to drink the boba. He was like, oh, I got this new drink. They call it Boba or something. And like he forgot that you're supposed to chew on the boba. Ended up choking on it. I don't know if it was
oh my gosh,
hilarious, but yeah, I've been on boba since baby days. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. But that was something new that I didn't know that like that's actually what like a typical day back home would look like. So that's cool.
Yeah, that was like huge in Vietnam, and like people would always like, okay, like even like it's all ages too. Like they'll bring their family, and it's like they'll play games, and that's one of the things that I think it is more than a beverage because you allow people to have a space where they can actually genuinely hang out. Because we don't have nowadays. I don't think. Yes, we have the bars, and sometimes it includes a lot of like alcohol for people to hang out. But to create a place to where I think you just have like a regular, beverage and be able to sit down, because you don't do that at Starbucks. You don't sit down and hang out with friends that much. But I feel like at a boba shop, people will sit there and play games and talk for hours and just like play board games, just like simple things that really make a good connection. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And of all age ranges, right? It's not just young people in Vietnam, but usually it's like everyone.
Yeah. And even with Fluffy Bear right now, that's our store. Like I see, people coming in, I'm like 80, like coming in to get some ice cream. And I'm like, how did you hear about us?
I love the name Fluffy Bear. It sounds so cozy. Like it just sets the tone like, oh, just want to snuggle and have my boba.
I know it was a weird process of us trying to figure out the name. It was supposed to be Fuzzy Wuzzy, and like I was like, it kind of sounds hairy, so I'm like, that one, because that song on like YouTube, it's like Fuzzy Wuzzy has no hair. Have you ever heard that song?
Oh, yeah, weird. Yeah, I kind of want to go back to in the beginning. You mentioned that you were born in Vietnam, but then you came over here in the 4th grade. I wanted to know, do you remember anything about Vietnam, or how was that transition for you? Was that kind of seamless, or did you go through like any like awkwardness or any challenges during that time?
Well, because I grew up with my family, I guess, but we were always split up because my oldest brother, he always had health issues. So they were most of like his life, my parents were kind of splitting up, like they went to Tokyo, try to find a cure for it. So he's actually the main reason why we are here today, because he was sick. So then he had a really weak immune system, and I'm not sure what the name exactly was the disease was, but it was very rare. And he was one of the first people to like get the disease. So that's why we were like moving around a lot, trying to find like a cure for him. And that's why we ended up in Minnesota, because they had the best healthcare. But my childhood in Vietnam, I remember going to school. Actually, I always tell people a lot of the times I don't remember a lot of my childhood. I do remember leaving because my mom stayed back. So I went with my dad. And I do remember that scene in the airport when I had to leave, and like everybody was crying because I was really young leaving. I was like 9. So obviously my mom felt bad that I was just going to a different country by myself with 3 boys. But I guess like everybody was crying, but I didn't. I was just like, I walked to the airport and I just left. But most of my childhood in Vietnam, I just remember going to school, and that's pretty much it. I don't remember really that much because I was pretty young when I left. So
do you get to visit often, or have you been back since?
So when my mom lived in Vietnam, she's over here now. She moved here when I was in high school. But during that time, I was seeing her once a year. So like summertime, I would come back and see my mom and then go back to school.
Other than your family, growing up in, how long did you stay in Minnesota, by the way?
I stayed there from 4th grade to 6th grade.
Okay, and then you went to the OC?
Yes. So I went to middle school from 7th grade and then up to this moment right now.
Yeah. So in Minnesota and in the OC, is there like a significant population of Vietnamese people? And did you feel like close to your culture, or you felt like a little bit of disconnect?
I think Minnesota, there was, because I had cousins there, but it was like learning I had to learn English, obviously, you know, coming over here and being like most of the kids, like in my area, it's called Tanglin, like elementary school. And most of the kids were like, I think like white, you know, and there was like, so I was in a pretty like white area, I would say. But at first it was just rough because, you know, it's like, I barely spoke English. Like one time I got in trouble because I was like, didn't know what I was doing because I can't read anything. I can't understand. So we're taking a test and like, I completely copied like word by word by this guy. And then my teacher was like, you don't even know English. Like, how are you writing this? But it's just like thinking back at those moments of like, you know, it's like, I just didn't know any better. I was scared. Like you come over here and like everybody like speaks a different language. Like I would raise my hand because everybody was raising their hand and I didn't know what was going on. Aww. So I think that it was a lot of like just awkwardness and just feeling a little bit left out, I guess, because you don't really know. But I don't remember being sad or anything like that. It was just more of like confused when I came.
Yeah.
But in the OC, it was more like we have in Santa Ana, it's a huge community. But I always grew up like been around more of like an area when there was not that many like Vietnamese people. So I think I was definitely confused a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And that's super difficult when you're kind of submerged into an entirely different culture at such a young age. But the plus side to that too is when you are there at such a young age, it's kind of later down the line, it's easier to connect later down the line. And I kind of have like a similar thing where I came to the US. Well, I was born in the US, but grew up in Nigeria for a couple of years and then came back really young, 2nd grade. And I did know English because we speak English in Nigeria, but just the cultural disconnection at first at such a young age, it is like a very confusing feeling because you're just like, wait, what's going on? And like, why are people treating me slightly different? You kind of think, sometimes you think in your head that, not that you're making it up, but you're just like, I feel like people are treating me different, but I don't know how to like communicate it and how to express it. So that is something that can be pretty challenging. So I wonder, like, do you remember what that turning point was for you? Was it middle school? Was it high school where you felt like you kind of like, felt like you were kind of like
settling into yourself?
Yes, there we go. There we go. Settling in. I'm like, why can't I think of what it is I'm trying to say? But yeah, you felt like you were settling in.
I think honestly, it probably wasn't until after high school because, you know, in like 7th grade, I was finally getting the hang of English. But then I felt like being around people, especially when you're younger. And I didn't really grow up with my mom either. So I didn't really have like my mom around me to tell me like how, you know, because I feel like some people, they need their mom around them to tell them, especially in a different country. But she wasn't really around, which wasn't her fault. But I kind of just had to like figure it out on my own. So obviously I went through phases of like trying different friend groups and like kind of like not being myself, but trying to mold in. Because I feel like that happens a lot when you move to a different country and you see how people act and you try to fit in and try to be similar to them. So that way it's like an acceptance thing. But I think that's also when we're young and we think that we can't be ourselves or be in our culture to be accepted. Which now it's like after high school when you kind of take a step back and being in college and like, I guess like figuring out who I was and like what I like and my culture and being like, it's okay for me to be like who I am and show like people my culture. And that's cool. Like, it's not like, because, you know, in high school, you're kind of afraid that you feel like you have to be in this, like, a certain bubble.
Yeah.
To be, like, accepted. But then when I was able to step out of that and, like, graduate and just to really, like, see, like, the people that surround you and, like, people that are, like, you don't need to be anybody else besides yourself, then I think I was finally like, okay, so this is me. Like, you know, I'm from Vietnam, but it's like, I'm also, like, have this new culture that I'm embracing. So, like, it took me a little bit, but I think now I'm pretty comfortable in who I am and where I'm from. And I think it just took a lot of, like, growing up and just maturing to realize that it's okay for you to be, you know, yourself.
Yes, period. Yes to that. So what is one thing that you wish people knew about your Vietnamese culture?
I think our culture, it's really about, like, unity. Like, Vietnamese culture, it's very, just growing up and, like, just seeing that people really got each other's back. And that's a huge thing in our culture, is that, you know, even moving from across the country and stuff like that, like, it's just like the unity of our culture. It's beautiful. It's like, you know, it's like a family. Like, my mom would love for me to live with her for the rest of my life. And I think that's, like, the part of our culture that's beautiful, is that, like, you know, because here in America, it's like, okay, when you're 18, you get out and you mature. But then,
yes. I was just thinking that, yes.
But then with our culture, it's like, no, like, let's all be together and be one happy family until the day that it doesn't have to end, which I think is beautiful, because, you know, like, people will live with their, like, parents and, like, grandparents all in the same house, which is, like, kind of, here people are independent, but, like, really, really independent. And, like, one of my mom's biggest fear is, like, for me to put her, like, in a home, you know, and like, that's one of the things in our culture, is that if you're with your parents, you take care of them until, you know, like, forever, because they were taking care of you when you were a baby and helpless. So when they're older, you're supposed to, like, take care of them when they're helpless.
Yes.
Pay it forward.
I love that thing of culture, and I mean, that crosses so many of, like, first generation people's experiences, because growing up and having a lot of friends who were Asian American, like, we had a lot in common, actually, that we didn't know until we started talking amongst each other. Like, it's actually common to have 2 or 3 generations in the house at one time, and keeping things in the family as far as, like, business, or just, like, everybody, it's normal to have family parties or people over at your house, or extended relatives popping in and out. So that's a cool thing, like, hearing your experience and really knowing, like, oh, yep, your granny does that too.
Different.
Right. So that's cool. So let's get back to business. I want to know more about how you came up with Fluffy Bear, but more so of, like, the design, the look. Because I see you on the gram, girl. Like, you doing it. So behind, like, the look and just the business side, like, give us some game on how Fluffy Bear became what it is today.
Okay, so I guess to, like, tell you guys about the design of Fluffy Bear, I could, like, maybe, like, tell you a little bit about myself, and that's why I think that plays a huge role. I usually, like, enjoy going out a lot. I like going to dinner, and, like, I don't say, like, I'm like half bougie, but also, like, I can do, like, the regular things as well. You know, I like the aesthetic things and, like, being in a place. So when my brother introduced me with that concept of, like, okay, let's create whatever you want, he said, you can design the place. So I said, pink. Like, I've always loved places that are, like, people nowadays, it's like when they go to places, it's, like, Instagrammable. So we were like, I just wanted the place to be all pink originally. And then we actually were bouncing off each other's ideas, looking on, like, you know, obviously, like, researching, and then just kind of putting everything together. But my main goal was to kind of, like, bring a little bit of flavor to Orange County, because, you know, all the cool spots are always in LA. And I'm just thinking, like, let's make something that, like, people would drive to OC to see, you know. And now we have people coming from LA, Sacramento, and like it's insane to see like other people coming to Orange County and being like, oh wow, like this is in Orange County. Like that's my favorite thing. When people are like, wait, this is in Orange County, because we don't have that much like cool spots around like OC, especially with desserts. But now it's starting to pop up. But we should bring something a little bit different that would like catch people's attention.
It's super cute, like for bomb.
And I've been to Irvine, and I have noticed like a difference when I'm in Irvine, because to me it kind of feels like all the buildings kind of look the same, or like they kind of like all go together, which is interesting. Versus like when you're out in LA, you see like a mom and pop shop that looks totally different from the one across the street, which is like, or even the houses look completely different, but it still kind of has like a LA aesthetic, a vibe, but it's all different. I don't know.
Like an experience,
Yeah.
Thing is that I wanted to like people to walk in, and like obviously the products that we sell need to be good, but also the feeling when people walk in to be like, oh wow, like they're enjoying like waiting for their ice cream because they're like looking at the hallway or whatever it is, that they're like taking pictures. Yeah. So that was our main goal.
Yeah. And even with that too, that in itself is marketing. Like people are doing the marketing for you basically, because they like the space so much. And it's really about creating that experience for people. And like, that's why the way that you're going about it is, I think, the way everyone should go about their business, and like focus less on like making money and stuff, and more so providing an experience like you are.
Yeah, I think it was awesome because because like whenever I talk to my staff and stuff like that, when we sit down, I'm like, guys, like honestly, we're very blessed to be open during a pandemic. Like right after we opened, 6 months into us like the pandemic hit. Wow. So it was like pretty intense being like a brand new store. Maybe it was a little bit longer than 6 months, but it was pretty early on, and we hit a pandemic, and actually we got busier after. But I thought it was kind of cool to be in a position to where I guess I can be that person, like we can be that store that people come in, and it's such a stressful time right now with everything. So to see people come in and just like smile and like be like, oh my gosh, like enjoy their ice cream and spend time with family. I think it's awesome that we're able to give that experience to people,
Providing smiles, like
providing smiles and sweets.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I need to put that on my next caption.
Yes, girl, feel free. So I always wanted to know too, like, what is it like running a business, like an ice cream business in the wintertime, especially in California? Like, I mean, well, California doesn't get super duper cold, but I've always wondered, like, what is business like in the wintertime at an ice cream shop?
We definitely slow down a little bit, but I think that, it's like we kind of have to improvise and see, okay, let's bring out some, I guess, like holiday products. And actually at that time, since it's November, like December, that's usually around Christmas. So a lot of families are actually in town trying to find something fun to do. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll crank up the heater, and everybody let's just snuggle inside. Because sometimes people will say, like, I crave ice cream when it's cold outside.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've heard that.
So, you utilize what you have. And, we have some like hot drinks that we put out too. But I honestly don't think, because we're lucky that we live in California, it's really not that big of an issue, since we try to utilize and like implement like new like products to like,
Yeah.
Going back to your time during the pandemic, like, did you have to adjust in any way? Like, were you serving outside, or were you doing like pickups? Like, what did that look like?
We actually closed the store for 1 month, right when it closed, because, we were like, what is going on? But when we got back, everybody wore masks. We did only to go, which, at that moment, people that were coming obviously wasn't too scared of it. So they were just eating outside. So we would give them the products. And luckily we have like this, like, it's kind of like a bench, but like, it's like a square bench outside, has plants. So people were able to sit out. But slowly we just started our inside seating, but we obviously don't put out that many tables just about a week ago. But it really wasn't an issue, because we put tables outside and people usually would just take their drinks or ice cream outside.
That's good. That's a blessing. Just like you said, like it's awesome that you all were still able to keep moving even during the pandemic. So that's good. That's really dope. You're currently located in the OC with Fluffy Bear. Do you plan to expand to other cities in California or other locations, or are you like set on OC right now because you just kind of started it and that's where your focus is right now?
My plan is to expand. I think that Fluffy Bear concept, I really truly believe it has the ability to do really well in other cities and maybe even a different state, who knows, you know? But right now I'm just kind of trusting God's timing, praying, because, you know, whenever he decides and wherever he decides for me to open a second Fluffy Bear, then I'm going to trust his, you know, his ways, because obviously I trusted him with moving forward with the first one. So I'm going to trust him. So I'm not sure, maybe, I don't know, like I think Costa Mesa would be awesome, maybe even LA, but honestly, I'm not sure. But right now I'm trying to focus on Fluffy Bear, the first one, and do that really, really well. And then, you know, figuring out and waiting for the next one to come.
Good. So do you do this full time? Like, is this the only thing that you commit to for in terms of?
Right now, that's what I actually had a job, like an assistant job just a month ago, because I was trying to fill up my time. But then I just ended up kind of leaving because I wanted to focus entirely on Fluffy Bear. But, you know, eventually I also want to grow in different areas. Like I'm trying to get my real estate license. So that's something that I want to, but sometimes, you know, I have to like focus and like self-discipline and be like, okay, let's get this done. So Monday is when I'm going to really start focusing and getting that license, hopefully by the end of this year.
All right.
Nice.
I love
it. The bag by any means, huh?
Period. So with brick and mortar locations, what would you say? Because, you know, in the times that we're in, a lot of people are moving to online businesses and, you know, doing things virtually. But obviously with a business like yours, people would need to come in and get their ice cream and things like that. So in terms of like having a brick and mortar location, how did you, first of all, even find a location? Or what was that process like, finding the location? And then do you lease the location? Do you lease all of the things in your business, or have you bought them? Like, is there a pro and con to leasing versus buying a location? Like how is it?
I think with us, obviously we have to lease. We have to pay every month, obviously, for our space. All of the machines though, we had purchased them. But prior to Fluffy Bear being Fluffy Bear, there was already an ice cream shop before. So luckily, you know, it was kind of built to be an ice cream shop. We only had to fix like the flooring and like the walls. Like if I showed you guys what the place looked like before, it was completely different. Yeah, it took us about 2 months. So we started it was like around like August, and then we had our soft opening in October. So this October coming up, it's going to be our 2-year and like anniversary.
That seems really quick. August to October. That's good. Wow. Yeah. Is that hard to do? Like to do it in such a short window like that, or everything seemed like it wasn't like rushed and it was going at the right pace?
With me, it was like my first business. So, you know, like I said, with my brother helping, it made the process go through a lot smoother, since he was the one that was kind of like taking care of, because he's done it before. So it was all brand new to me, you know, so I was just kind of there like learning. It was a kind of like a learning process. Okay, we have to do this. We have to get the city approved this and blah, blah, blah. So it was like a lot of like things. So I was very grateful to have, obviously, my brother who was experienced with opening a store. So I think it was a lot smoother for us because he had already been through the process before.
He was like your mentor, basically.
Yeah, for sure. It was awesome.
I had 2 questions. I wanted to know, like, were you really hands-on with the development? Like, did you go in there and like paint, or did you, I don't know, pick the flavors? Like, how hands-on were you with the whole creative process of your business?
Yeah, we worked there together. The painting we paid. Actually, it's like my dad did like the tile, like we would just tell him. So like we did kind of like all kind of worked at it, but like the painting, that was like we hired somebody on because we wanted to make it look nice and even.
Yeah.
But the tile, my dad is like a handyman, so he was like putting each tile in and then like kind of helping us with whatever we needed. Yeah, he's awesome. He's been honestly a very great support system through, obviously, with the store. Sometimes he'll run like our product, like supplies and stuff like that if we need him to. He's retired, so he loves doing it. He actually washes our machine. We have to wash our machine like a few times a week. So I hired him. So he's like, keep it in the
That's cute. I think it's really dope that it's like all in the family. Like it's a family hustle, like all hands on deck. That's really cool.
Yeah, we were creating the flavors, and like as along the way, obviously there's things that people that we learned that we made mistakes, and they're like, hey, like you can't do this. You have to like with the products that we use now, it has to be a certain way and stuff like that. So we kind of made like learned along the way with creating products, and like we just kind of figured it out, did research, and like just kind of like doing practice and seeing what flavors and how to create these flavors, research. And it's crazy, honestly. Sometimes like to this day when I'm at the store and I see people coming in and being like, oh my gosh, this cookies and cream is like the best I've ever had. It's just insane because you know when you do it, you never really truly think that people would. I mean, I think that people would like it because I'm selling it, but to get to the point where people are like, wow, this is like the best I've ever had. That's like, obviously not everybody thinks that, but to hear it from coming somebody's mouth, you yourself and like your team have created something. It's awesome to be like, oh, wow, like people actually like this, Yeah.
I think that's the best way to learn how to do something is to just kind of go and do it and kind of learn along the way rather than taking the time to like overly analyze and overly research things and not really ever get started. I know a lot of people struggle with that. And I think that when people do that, it's really because they're scared, afraid to fail, So I know with a lot of things in life, I've made mistakes, but if anything, like I'm grateful for those mistakes because moving into the next phase of my life, I'm like, okay, I know what not to do because I already did that and it didn't work out. So, but some of the mistakes that you guys made, what were they? Were they super costly, if you don't mind sharing? And how did you kind of bounce back,
Yeah, I think I don't think it cost us that much. It was just more of like, I had to learn how to make cones from scratch. And just like learning and using the right tools and being like, okay, what products is actually like approved and what isn't. So you kind of have to research and like ask questions. So it was more of like just a product itself and like learning how to create cones. Like, because we make our cones, that one that you guys see, we make that in-house. So like looking up videos, like how do you make cones? Because I didn't grow up being like, wake up and say, it's my dream to have an ice cream shop. Like I'm not going to be here and be like, yep, that was like my ultimate goal. It was just an opportunity that was given to me. Yeah. So I think that it helped me to learn that honestly, if you were put in a position to like learn something, you can really learn any career if you really apply yourself and to like make those mistakes. Because it's like, I didn't know how to make one single ice cream cone, anything. And to be able to create a brand that is, now we're making like these cones in-house and the flavors are good. And, you're able to like really learn a different industry that you never thought that you would be in. Yeah. But you have to try, what I mean?
Yeah, that's definitely true. I love that you all touched on people not starting because of fear. I'd like to admit I'm one of those people. I'll plan something out and I'm just like, it just doesn't. Sometimes it just doesn't start. I'll start some things, but then like it really is fear that holds you back. And I do want to commend you for being so humble because a lot of people who are your age, who are doing what you do, sometimes they forget to be humble in the process too. And I think that's probably why you are getting a lot of blessings too, because it all starts with your perspective and how you view things and your gratitude. And I do want to definitely commend you for that. I think that's so inspiring, and I'm super excited for your business, and it's really interesting to hear like what it took to get you here, all the things that you have to learn to keep it going, and like how motivated you are to keep it going. So I do have like a lighthearted question. I don't know if somebody else wanted to ask something else in relation to this, but if not, it doesn't seem like it. I want to ask, what is your favorite flavor at Fluffy Bear? You only have to choose one. You only get to choose one.
Honestly, the one that I always recommend for people, and it's my personal favorite that we created, is the brown sugar honey boba.
Ooh, brown sugar.
So that's like a vanilla ice cream, and then we put a brown sugar honey syrup around the cup on the ice cream, and then we add boba to it. So we actually do boba with our ice cream, which is cool.
Wow, different. Yeah, do you put boba in all your ice creams or just like select flavors?
People can actually add boba to anything on the menu, which is kind of cool. They can do it in their milkshakes and in their milk teas, coffee, whatever it is that they order. We're like, you can put boba in it. And that's been one of the things that's kind of cool, because, you know, people are like, wait, I can put boba in my milkshake, you know?
Yeah.
But it's not like we're the only people that do it, but sometimes, you know, in our area,
yeah,
boba is still new for a lot of people, you know? They're like, what's boba, you know?
Oh, even I have so many boba questions, like what is it actually made of / are there different flavors of boba, like different colors? I think I've only seen the black.
There's clear. Sometimes you can make it pink with like certain things that you boil it with, but it's made out of tapioca balls. So it's like you have to boil it and, you know, do the whole process of it. But it's honestly cool, because with boba, it comes in like mini boba, big boba, crystal boba. There's just so many add-ons. It's like unlimited. Yeah. It's cool.
Sounds really good. Oh my gosh. I need to book it to Fluffy Bear right now.
You to come and visit.
Yes, especially because it's so hot. It's so hot out. Like I'm definitely in need of an ice cream fix. So.
Yeah, same. I have a personal question. Do you have non-dairy, you know, for the lactose folks?
We do, actually. We have to get that question a lot. So we have like a dairy-free flavor it's called raspberry palm. So it's like raspberry pomegranate. So it's similar to a sorbet. And we actually started selling shaved snow. And those ones, we can make it non-dairy by just taking out all of like the condensed milk and whipped cream. So a lot of our items we're able to modify to your liking. Like all of our milk teas are actually dairy-free.
Oh, wow. And it has milk in the name? Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we use a non-dairy creamer with it. So, yeah, so it's actually dairy-free. So there's a lot of people that have dairy issues, to be honest.
Yes.
Me, like 3 of us on this call, like we all have dairy problems.
He's like,
Yes, so I'm really coming to the OC to get. Are you there like most days, or do you go in on select days?
I'm usually there in the mornings and stuff like that. I kind of just pop it, like, it just depends, right? If I have plans or thing, then I usually have like schedule enough people to cover. But honestly, I have an amazing staff, and I tell them all the time, I'm like, you guys are, you know, because like, honestly, I can't do it by myself, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of it is like, I'm lucky to have them and having such a great team to carry for us to move forward together, because obviously it's busy. Like I always say, like I couldn't do it by myself. So a lot of it has to go with them, and it's some of them, it's their first job, and like to see them grow, it's like honestly really, really amazing. Because then you know, they're like when they first come in versus when like to where they're like in charge and responsible for a lot of things. Now it's cool to be in a position to where I can like maybe show them a few things and that I've learned from my old managers that they could take on for their next career. Because I always tell them, I know this is not your end goal, working at an ice cream shop, but if I can like be that person to like give you any type of skill or like help you learn something, then like I've done my job You know what I mean? In like, in your effort of like giving back to you for putting in your hard work at Fluffy Bear and like investing their time too.
Yes. So, wow. So I'm about to cook up the gems. So I feel like there's a lot of gems that we could pull, but I think we can go in the sense of young entrepreneurialism, right? Are y'all feeling that? So what is one gem based off what we talked about in this whole episode? It doesn't have to be like business related, just some words of wisdom or inspiration, because we'll all go around and give gems too. So based on our discussion, what is something, it could be one thing that you would like to let the people know watching?
I think that one thing that I always believe in that helped me was that like, sometimes, you know, you feel like you are not qualified to be in a position that you are. But I always say if you're in the position and it's been given to you, or, you know, you have that chance to take, like, if you like, I just feel like if you're in it, like if that opportunity is given to you, there's something inside of you that, you know, you'll be able to accomplish it. Because before I always was like, I don't know, I'm not qualified for this. Like, I don't really know much. But from me being somebody that didn't know anything about ice cream or anything about that industry, and being able to say that right now, you know, we have a pretty good, successful business in the OC. It just takes time and patience, and that you just have to keep believing in yourself or in God, whoever it is that you believe in, that you have it in you to really accomplish a lot more than you think.
Yes.
Wow.
Hallelujah.
I absolutely love that.
Wow. Next. Okay, go ahead.
I gathered that mentorship is key in realizing, you know, the things that you want to do. You know, find people who have the experience in something it is that you want to do, and reach out to them, whether it's a family member, someone you find on Instagram, someone you find on YouTube. I don't know, just wherever you can find someone who's doing something dope that you want to do, reach out to them, because they clearly have experience, and you'll be surprised like at how much knowledge, free knowledge, that people are willing to give in time.
I like that.
Hey.
Even free game. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, I like to piggyback off of that one. So my gem would be not only utilize the resources, but be a resource. You know, once you get to where you want to be, or you're moving forward, don't forget about the people who can also utilize your help, your knowledge, your skills. So find mentorship, but also be a mentor. Help bring other people up. You know, help uplift others so that they can do their thing. Yes, just keep going. You know, pay it forward.
Yes.
I like how you did that. That transition was seamless. That was dope.
But it's so true though. It's like, honestly, you don't really know the influence that you have just with the daily, with like, you know, being in a position to maybe one of you guys will have a business, and then people are working, looking up to you. And then one day they're like, you know, in their life, you could really make an influence on them. And they're like, I do this because I learned this at the ice cream shop, whatever it may be, you know?
Yeah. And people remember that. Like, people will remember you for how you helped them get to the next level in their life.
Absolutely.
Mylin, something that you said like really resonated with me. You did speak a lot about your faith and how you trusted in God to, you know, guide you. And I think that's very important, because oftentimes like we have like the structure or this timeline, how we want things to go. We want to rush things to fit it into our timing, but that's not always what is meant for our destiny, for our life. So I think it is extremely important to just trust God, just lean on him. And that's where you can gain your understanding, and also just keeping your faith. Like, you never know, you can go so far and then quit and give up, but your blessing is right on the other side. So I think it's extremely important that you trust the process, trust God to guide you in everything that you're doing. And yeah.
Yes.
Take us to church. Hallelujah.
I love it, you know, because honestly, that's what, being in this podcast, obviously sometimes with your viewers, I'm not sure their belief systems. I didn't want to base it too much on like God, because then sometimes people can't really relate. But at least my experience, when I said that, I felt unqualified, but God was like, no, I put it in you. Whatever it is that comes your way, you have it in you, and I've given you that skill, whatever it is, but just trusted me that you are qualified for the position that I put you in. And that's where, that's why I said that.
Yes.
I like that you pointed that out too. I do want to preface too that no matter if you don't like relate specifically, like whatever you believe in, trust in that. Let that guide you. Have faith in something. Like faith is believing in something, whether you believe in a specific thing or not. Like faith is believing in something. Have faith to, and that's going to get you to where you want to be. It's all about your mindset. And also too, like she is from Vietnam, we're Nigerian, we got South African. So it doesn't matter the places that we're from, like these experiences, these stories that we share are universal, and you can apply everything that we say can be applied to, your life. So I just want to make that a thing, because some people might be looking at our brand, our episodes, and think like, oh, this isn't for me because I'm not this or I'm not specific, but it's for everyone who can relate and who can gain something from it. And that's really our main goal. So I love that you pointed that out. And I just wanted to emphasize that as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So my gem for you, Mylinh, I think just by hearing you speak, I'm just like, wait, how old are you again? So aside from that though, that is key. Like, I'm just so proud just hearing like, yes, our young people and us as young people as well, we're really like making moves. So I think one cool thing that I heard was pretty much, even though this is specific to your business and your success, I feel like there's a trend among like first generations where we literally are so inspired by our upbringing, by our culture, that we manifest it in any way. Like your example of showing how it was growing up in Vietnam in those social spaces and being able to bring it back here to the States and turn it into a successful business. So I think that speaks to a lot of first gens who are creatives, who are business entrepreneurs, who are writers and write their stories based on stories back home. So I think the gem is just follow the influence of your culture. Like a lot of that comes intuitively, instinctively, and like we're meant to create like blessings out of that and really
what?
Vibe it out.
I love it. I like people going the audio who are hearing the audio are gonna be like, what's this pause? I love
vibe with it. Vibe.
Yes, I love
Just vibe with it.
Yes.
Awesome.
So yes, all these gems that we dropped here today, I'm telling you, amazing, amazing. And I hope y'all feel the energy in the room, because I do.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not with y'all, like I feel the energy. Like for Mylinh, what's next for Fluffy Bear, and where can the people find you?
Next for Fluffy Bear is a second location, when the right timing is. And we have our Instagram. We also have TikTok. But if you go on our Instagram, you could probably find the links to our website and pretty much everything, because I post mainly on Instagram. But it's called Fluffy Bear Dessert. It's pretty simple. You just like at Fluffy Bear Dessert, and you guys can see all the products, what we come out with, and things like that. But honestly, it's been really cool talking to all you guys, because sometimes you don't sit down and like self-evaluate. So this is getting to know myself too a little bit,
I love it. I love that. So yeah, as I said, it was going to be like a cool conversation, not a stiff interview. We're just here to chat, get to know each other more, spread wisdom, spread knowledge, spread love. And with that, we do want to thank you so much for joining us today and taking the time to meet and chat with us.